Hey there, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Empire Partner Foundation Studios podcast, where we keep our voices on social challenges. And today I'm joined with Sino. How do I say your surname? Is it Dikana or?
Yeah.
Perfect. First try.
Yeah.
So Sino Dikana, he's actually an educator, and he does. I think we were just asking before. He teaches grade sevens.
Yeah, I teach grade 7.
Is it a public school or government school?
It's a very public school.
Very public school.
Very public school.
That's the only reason I ask that because a lot of people get that idea that you're a private school teacher, act very different. If you're a public school teacher, you can act completely different in a sense.
There is that misconception.
So are you here today to break that misconception?
Exactly. I'm here to dispel that myth. Yeah.
So you actually recently won a award in the ICT section, if I'm correct in saying so.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us more about that award?
Okay, so what that award is about educators who implement ICT in education in their teaching and learning. So I was recognized as one of the top people who are doing that in the province.
Yeah.
So I came second position in the province, first in the cluster, which is Ekurhuleni municipality. Wow. So I'm first position there. So essentially, it's just about using ICTs to enhance teaching and learning, from something as simple as using a laptop to robotics and things like that, but I'm not in that robotic space. So
speaking of actually robotics, I noticed like a lot of schools now they're changing the way they do schooling. For example, in my area, Abbott's College, before they used to just do the normal, plain old, everyday today subjects, but now for their younger students like grade 8s, grade 9s, they're incubating robotics and coding, which is a good design. Yeah. Do you think that'll ever come to a public school?
There are attempts to do that. I know in our school in grade R, the department gave us like a coding and robotics starter kit to teach the youngest in the school about robotics. I've got my reservations about that.
You do not trust robots. You do like a whole Skynet situation with Terminator.
You know what my take is? I think a politician once said this. One of the what do they call them? The competing political parties that are not ruling. So someone said that as South Africa we've jumped on the 4IR bandwagon. Yeah. But we haven't even mastered the third industrial revolution. And so that's kind of my thinking. So in a lot of my ICT implementation, this is what I was saying in the presentation for the awards, that I think we have to master consumption first of technology. Yeah. Because, if you look at a lot of the videos that trend of schools doing robotics, it's simple things that they're coding, a robot to move forward and backwards, sideways, maybe sensors here and there. And if that's what it means to have robotics, we're just going to have another situation where we're going to have tons of people who can code, but then it's going to be useless because no one is thinking creatively on solving problems that exist. Yeah. And that only happens if you excel as a consumer, because it's only when you are in the shoes of a consumer that you are able to identify gaps that can be solved with your skills. So if we all have those skills, but we can't think creatively because we've never really mastered consumption of these technologies, then it's just going to be a pointless skill that we...
I agree with you on that point completely. And my thing is that when it comes to tech and us still just moving into fourth industrial revolution, us completely the third one, I feel like it's important that we still have to fill that gap. Let's say even years down the line, we're on our fifth or sixth revolution. Yeah. That gap is going to be major.
It's going to be major.
Because I'm thinking about like England, they were big in the industrial revolution. They pretty much modernized the whole world. If they missed up a gap over there, we wouldn't have the stuff we have here today.
Exactly that. Because 4IR is essentially putting the third industrial revolution on the internet. Talk about the Internet of Things. It's taking your fridge and making it smart. It's taking your
which I don't
TV.
understand. Like I've seen smart fridges. I just never because I saw you could just write on it. You could watch like a series. I don't understand.
Some of them can order groceries when they're running out. So it's essentially just taking the third industrial revolution and internetizing it, if there is such a word. And if we haven't mastered this third industrial revolution, what are we going to put online? What are we going to be?
It's kind of like Christmas. Christmas used to be about celebrating. Now it's more about consuming.
Yeah, so I'm all about trying to master the basics. Just teach them Microsoft Office. So start there, basic computer skills. Then as they consume and they this kind of thinking comes from watching my brother. So my brother's a musician.
Oh, wow.
He plays piano, right? And The only time that he started learning music theory was at university. So before that, he was just, looking at how people play and trying to figure out the chords and all that stuff without having the theory. And for me, the exposure is an incredible tool for young minds. If you can just expose them to these basics, they are able to learn these things. I'm not a tech genius. I don't know code. I don't know how to code. I don't know robotics.
I feel you. I don't know how to code.
Exactly. But I know some of my kids have these skills. I started a school-based, I call it Tech 10. 10 minutes of tech every day, where I just show them videos. So I invite anyone to come to my class, download these videos of tech, where the world is going, and they just watch that. Sometimes I'll have one or two of my kids who are more well-versed in technology. For example, we had a kid who was showing us VR goggles.
Oh, yeah.
That you can just put your cell phone in and it turns to virtual reality.
Yeah, I actually have like one of those at home. Like every time I just feel bored or I just want to watch see something like Sea-Wise. Like I love like animal stuff. So whenever I just want to like see what it's like in the ocean, it's just so cool to put it on.
So he was teaching me that. I didn't know about that. He brought it in and is like, "Sir, do you know about this?" I'm like, "I don't know what that is." So
look at something called the Oculus Rift. So it's pretty much where you could go into a VR world and actually move objects and stuff. It's
really
such an insane thing. Like it's been out for years now. They're always upgrading it and stuff. But since you could put it on Oculus Rift, you could join other people with like VR and everything. Move around, build stuff, or even draw on certain programs.
Exactly. So for me, the main thing is creating exposure, so that when your mind is exposed to something, it's gonna absorb some of the knowledge. It's gonna absorb some of the skills.
And I totally agree, because like with me, I wanted to go into voiceovers and voice acting and stuff. I thought I could just go in there, open a Fiverr account, do it, and then now I recently went for a course and I realized it's just more than speaking. You actually have to train yourself on how to do certain things or act with different emotions. But now speaking of skills, because you spoke about skills earlier in your previous statement, I've actually noticed you actually have a lot of skills. You have copy editing, tutoring, songwriting, teaching, debate, public speaking, research, and writing. That's a jack of all trades right there.
Hopefully master of some.
So how did you get into something? Because most of them I can see it has to do with either with public speaking or being very creative in what you do. Were you just always naturally creative, or did you want to do something in a creative field?
I think, again, it comes to exposure. So I come from a bit of a musical family. So in that, growing up listening to jazz and gospel music, which are the two genres that are very musical. I'm musically trained from ear also. I don't play an instrument, I sing. So again, it goes back to exposure. There is a bit of natural giftedness in that area, but a lot of it is exposed or becomes better with hard work. There's no substitute for hard work, man. So I think I was given that bit of creative inclination, but through exposure, listening to different types of music, singing at church, interacting with people in different creative fields. I think that's how I got to become a little bit more creative.
That's actually really amazing, because I know a lot of people just like, I was born creative, or always has a creative idea.
Not in my case, That
shows you that anyone can just become creative, even if you don't have that initial creativity there.
I think everyone has an ability to be creative. It just goes in with putting in the work, man. Like they say, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. So the more hours you put in, the better you become at it.
Even someone say Einstein, even though most of the work was just theory work and everything, some will say that he was creative in the way he actually got to that theory.
It worked.
It worked, yeah.
It worked.
No, it definitely did.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I always want to know about teaching is, how does one actually get into teaching? I've always thought of what I could do if I became a teacher. How does one just get into teaching?
You've got two main options. I'll say that. So what I did was, I knew in grade 9 that I wanted to be an educator.
So from a young age?
Yeah, from a very young age. So I'm from Port Elizabeth. So our university, which is now Nelson Mandela University, at that time when I wanted to do teaching, I couldn't major in English and life orientation, which are the two subjects I wanted to major in. I could only major in business studies, your STEM subjects and things like that. So when we went for an open day, the guy I spoke to, he advised that I do linguistics, and then after I get my undergraduate in linguistics, I can then do what they call a PGCE, Postgraduate Certificate in Education. So I did that. I came up to WITS and I did my PGCE. So a PGCE is for anyone with an undergraduate qualification or postgraduate qualification in any field who's interested in coming into teaching.
Oh wow!
So you spend a year full time at university or 2 years part time, and then you qualify to be an educator. So a couple of people who've had BComs, engineering, and they're like, I want to be a teacher. So they go back to university and just do that PGCE short course. Or you can do B.Ed directly, which is a Bachelor of Education.
Yeah.
You spend 4 years at university and majoring in whatever subjects you want to major in, and then you qualify as an educator.
Yeah, it was like, because when I was back in varsity, a lot of my friends were saying, well, a lot of them I knew were actually in education.
Yeah.
A lot of them said that they enjoyed it, but most of them were doing foundation phase. Now, you're in foundation phase, if I'm correct saying, because that's grade 1 to 7, or?
So foundation phase is grade 1 to 3.
Oh, wow.
And then it also maybe include grade R as a early childhood development center. But now they've brought that into, it used to be part of Department of Social Services or Social Development, and now they're bringing into the Department of Education.
The one thing I always want to know, so back in high school, they were telling us that, by this year, we're going to get rid of some subjects, make some mandatory.
Yeah.
Because I know they said they're going to make history mandatory and they're going to get rid of LO. When you hear stuff as a teacher, how does that make you feel about our education system?
Man, there's a lot I could say about our education system. I think one of our what will lead to our eventual decline in the quality of education that we offer is that we're not working on our strengths. Like I said, we want to master the fourth industrial revolution, and if you look at that originated from nations like China and Japan, who've always been technocentric.
Yeah.
So they're working on their strengths. They want to better what they have around them. They don't need to procure as much resources as we would need to if you want to get into this space and very fast. I think what needs to happen is we have to look at what's around us and try to work on the strength. I mean, we're very agriculturally rich, but in schools we don't have agriculture as a subject. We've got livestock, but we don't learn how to.
Because one of the videos I recently made for the channel was talking about Woolwoods and Woolwood CSI project. One of them is teaching rural areas and kids about agriculture. So
exactly.
I think it will be a better idea, like you said, have a school instead teach that to help.
Exactly.
I feel like if the school chose more interested in doing the basics instead of like the high end stuff, like or you're gonna be going to business, all that. If they do the basics, then it should be better.
It should be better. But one of the things I really commend about our province, I think it's a brilliant idea, is that they've been rolling out what they call schools of specialization, which is high schools that focus on a particular area of expertise. There's a school of hospitality, I think around Kempton Park. There's a school of engineering in Katlehong, another school of engineering, I think in Soshanguve, that's sponsored by BMW. With So I think that's a brilliant idea that I'm hoping that will happen in the whole of South Africa. That you've got schools of specialization, so that by grade 8, in grade 7 life orientation, we teach them about career choices and career fields.
Oh wow.
So we usually host, as part of that, we have to host an annual career fair or career day. So I think if we expose them at least at grade 7 to say, these are the potential careers that you can follow, so that it's easier for them to decide which school of specialization do I want to go to. I mean, if a pilot comes through and they talk about aviation, and maybe you have an aeronautical engineer there and they talk about aviation, to a kid from an informal settlement who's seen planes fly over him but has never thought could get into that field. Now they're exposed to that and they're thinking, oh, I could actually be a pilot, or I could actually be an aeronautical engineer, and I know that there's a school of specialization not too far from me. I can go to an aviation school and learn about those things. So again, I'm saying, I think the shift that is needed in our education system is to work on our strengths. Let's not only look at what the rest of the world is gunning after, and we want to go after the next shiny thing. Let's look at what we have, what is needed to boost our economy with the natural resources that we have, or the resources that are easily accessible to the majority of our nation, and let's bring that into education, so that it's easier to build the economy. It's easier to have more people employed or creating jobs, because if there's a farm near me, I've learned how to grow crops in school. It's easy for me to go to the farm and say, hey, I've learned how to grow crops. Can I manage your farm for you, or something like that?
Now, before we go into the final question, I want to bring an interesting fact about the crops thing. I was watching a show on Prime Video, it was Clarkson's Farm, Jeremy Clarkson. I never knew this fact about farming. But in order to harvest like weeds or like rapeseed, for example, you need to harvest at the right humidity. You can't just harvest it whenever you want to.
It's technical,
stuff like
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have a device and stuff. You put the weeds in there, you crunch it, everything. It tells you
Yeah.
humidity. When it shows you you can harvest then you do the harvest. If it's one low or one high, you can't harvest at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Stuff like that.
they'll also speak about the acidity of the soil.
That's the thing,
that
yeah.
you can't grow certain plants in this type of soil and whatnot, and we don't know that. I mean, for me, I even spoke to a friend of mine about this. I'm saying, like, if you live in a complex, why can't you guys decide? You've got a backyard. Why can't you decide? I'm going to grow tomatoes. You're going to grow potatoes.
Make it sustainable for everyone.
And then we, go back to the bartering system.
Yeah.
We save money because we're buying these things from grocery stores, and we could grow them. It's free food.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but.
And
yeah.
finally, the one I do want to know, and I think this just be on my mind when I always think about educators.
Yeah.
Do you think there's actually any hope for South Africa's education system getting better in, like, let's say 5 years?
Definitely, there's hope. I was on, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention like other radio stations, but I was on a radio station on.
No, you can if you want to.
Okay, I was on Kasi FM on Monday, and one of the questions that they posed to me was, what do I think it'll take for education to grow and become better? And I'm saying to them, I'm addressing it to managers at schools. I've been very fortunate and blessed that I've got a manager who doesn't, who's not intimidated by young talent. Instead, my principal, Mrs. Latta, she identifies that there's a certain giftedness here, and let's use it to benefit the school.
Yeah.
But you might find in other schools where managers are intimidated by these young guys coming in, like, hey man, this guy's gonna take my job, which is something that will never happen.
Like, I know my old history teacher, he had so I know when you do teaching, like studying, you do like a practical or something when you go to school.
Yeah.
So he had, I think, a 30-year student come in. He got, like, my old history made him so nervous that he ran out of the classroom just to go vomit.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Like, all of us, we didn't know, we always thought he was sick, and then he just never came back. And then he told us that that guy who was there just he didn't feel right being at that school.
So you see, so there's someone who's more experienced, and there's a younger educator who's got brilliant ideas coming in.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're not given room to flourish because these people are intimidated by young talent.
And then personally, I believe that it's time for the youth to actually take the place off the older generation.
And the thing is,
they've done everything they could. It's time for them to relax. It's time for us to try and take over and actually do our best.
but the experiences are valuable because they know where we come from. So if I'm coming in with an idea that maybe they tried to implement early and it didn't work, they can say that to me. So it's like, oh, we've actually tried this, but let's try and think of a way that'll make it work. So in order, what I believe that will change the education of South Africa for better is if managers will learn to work hand in hand with these young gifted educators that are coming into the field and give them space to implement some of the ideas that they have and not discourage them and say, you knew this energy of yours is going to die down sometime down the line, let's not even bother. But instead to encourage them and say, yeah, that's actually a good idea. You might face certain challenges in this area, so maybe let's think of it this way and try and implement it that way. So I think give space to the young generation and the ideas that they have.
Well, Sino, thank you so much for coming on and actually opening my mind more about education and finally debunking that whole thing about public school teachers are different from private school teachers and everything. That myth is finally out the window.
I would say public school teachers are actually better, but I won't say that.
we'll keep that on the table for now. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for actually educating, I guess everyone watching this video and stuff.
Thanks, Emil.
And hope to see you around.
Thanks for your time.
Cool.